Growth Pod is brought to you by Genero, a leading growth agency in the Nordics. We interview marketing experts, business leaders, and entrepreneurs to uncover the stories and strategies behind profitable growth.
This is a conversation with Karl Andersson, co-founder of online grocery store Matsmart. Matsmart has helped save over 60,000 tons of food and consumer products from going to waste, by instead selling them directly to consumers at big discounts. The company was founded in 2014 and has grown rapidly to over 100 million euros in revenue across 5 markets in Europe. We talked about raising over 200 million euros in funding, trends in the food e-commerce space, marketing, advertising, international expansion, and a lot more. Please enjoy this conversation with Karl Andersson. It's been a pretty wild year last year for you. You ended the news, or kind of ended with news in November that you closed a funding round. I think it was 40 million euros.
Yeah.
And if I read correctly, the valuation did not change from the previous funding round. Is that disclosed, or is that the case?
But that's exactly that's how you should read it. I mean, I would say that we kind of pretty much did a flat round. Though it was a crazy ride, right? We actually had a lot of interest around the company and so on. But there is always, it's always this. It was a very, very weird year last year. So a lot of uncertainties and so on. But we have really good investors on board already that supports the company really, really well, and we're really happy to have them on. And also now it's a fantastic add-on circularity to that crowd, given that they are that impact investor that you're looking for, and also that they are very keen on supporting us in scaling this company. So.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you mentioned circumstances where market conditions were really tough, and to be able to raise that kind of money and at a flat valuation, I think is very incredible. So definitely want to talk a little bit about fundraising, because you've done a lot of it and some of the lessons learned. But first, let's start with Matsmart. Where did the idea come from? Because your background, if I read it correctly, is mostly in sales, working different types of sales roles, and this is obviously, it seems like a very, very different kind of thing. So where did the idea come from that led you to co-found Matsmart 10 years ago?
You're right. I mean, I've been working with sales ever since I left school, basically, being sales manager and sales director, and having different roles within media and other companies. And I've also run before Matsmart. I have had a couple of ventures before this one. So, I mean, Matsmart is it's a fantastic story, right? Because it's a friend from where I used to grow up, Södertälje, just 30-50 minutes outside of Stockholm, who owns a supermarket store, Eric, and he's seeing everyday good things going to waste, getting super frustrated about all of this. And, when people come up to him in the store saying like, hey, how can you sell this pasta? It's, its best before date is only like a week left. Or, I mean, how can you even sell this in the store? And then Eric, came to discuss with them and say like, but when are you going to eat this? And what do you think will happen to this pasta after a week? And they said like, but this is something I will eat, of course, tonight. Then I don't understand these conversations. And this was back in 2013, 14 something-ish. When Eric had one of his suppliers coming up to him and said, I have a problem with this short-dated good, and that being a Christmas soda, and no one wants to buy it anymore. Could you please help me out a bit? Eric said like, you know what, I'm happy to help you. I will buy everything you have, but I will only pay you a third of what you're asking. So that's how it started. So they tried that, Christmas soda, and this now was in springtime. So everything was a bit weird, right? Selling Christmas soda springtime. So his customers came up to him and, instead of complaining, how could he sell things that just had a week left, they said like, wow, it's amazing that you sell Christmas soda in May. Fantastic. So that gave Eric a lot of confidence. So, he tried out others, challenging goods. He started to speak to all his suppliers if they had any problems and so on and so forth. And after a few months, he had a store with all of this exciting assortment. And, a really cool thing was that the frequency to the store really picked up. So people came in through the door just to see what's on sale. What kind of weird assortment do Eric have today? So that became, something really good. On the flip side to that, I guess, the normal assortment didn't get touched. So that was one problem. And the average order value kind of dropped. So he said to himself, okay, this is a good idea. The challenging thing is though that it doesn't really fit in my store. And so he gave me a call and we sat down to discuss it. I brought in my friend Uffe, and the three of us kind of, started to look and, twist and turn this idea around. And we realized very quickly that this was such a big problem. It was a massive problem with this food waste, not something that was very, local to Eric's store. So that was the first thing we saw. The second thing we saw was that, the frequency that Eric kind of noticed in the store selling, off-price goods, that we saw all over, right? You see it in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and so on, and all other outlets, I guess. So we said that, okay, that's also very interesting. And to that, we saw that food online was about to happen in Ocado and all others. So combining this three, made this into a really, really interesting business idea. So we decided to do that. We decided to only sell dry goods and use third-party logistics, and in that way can be able to reach the full length of the country and also the full length of the Nordics, right? So that was a few decisions that we took, and I guess I think it took us like 8 weeks or something like that to get going, and in January 2014 we launched the site. So I guess that's how it came about.
Amazing. It really started from observing a problem and then coming up with a solution. First, could we put some numbers on that? Because you hear a lot about food waste and how much is being thrown out at different parts of like the value chain. But what are we talking about here? And how much have you guys been able to kind of save by being able to sell these products that otherwise would have been thrown out?
I mean, one needs to understand that this is a massive problem. And, now having learned some about it, I say that, this is probably one of our time's biggest issues. If we don't solve the problem with food waste, we will never be able to face the climate changes that we are facing, right? So 1/3 of everything being produced is actually being thrown away. So that's how big this problem is. And throwing in a few more numbers in there, I think we've saved more than 60,000 tons of food, somewhere around there. And that's, of course, a massive number. I think, we turned something that, no one wanted to look at into a venture that now sells food every day and turns roughly around 1 billion SEK, so 100 million euros, even more than that. So of course, I think the food industry is such a big one, and we expect our store, the physical store, to look exactly the same regardless of the time of year it is. Right, so that of course creates a lot of pressures on the producers, suppliers. I mean, these wheels, they really need to keep turning. And that's also why these numbers are so huge.
Yeah, I've thought about that, just going into, a supermarket in the middle of winter throughout the year and finding these perfect bananas and all these, this shelf of perfect bananas. And when you think about just a logistical nightmare or that is required to deliver that experience every day, like you said, you understand that there's got to be a lot of waste in the process, a lot of added cost. You mentioned that you kind of were able to turn this thing that no one wanted to look at into this really now successful established thing. What was it like in the beginning? Did customers understand what you were about? Was it immediate traction, or did you have to go through this process of educating people about, like you said, expiry dates and what kind of food you can eat when and things like that? How did that process look like?
Yeah, it's interesting. Thanks. I mean, first of all, we created a new category, selling something that no one sold previously. Of course, you can see off prices in the stores and so on, but not only zooming in on that niche. So that we were very, very alone on. So that was the first thing. And when we launched the site, we didn't know how green we could say that we were. Would people really buy old food? Because when you started to talk to people about the idea, I mean, just a correction, we don't sell old food, but we do sell, food that has some kind of challenge or close to its best forward date, or, but when we nowadays talk about close to its best before date, it has roughly around 30 days left. So 30, so it's a lot of days, right, to consume that good that you buy from us. Anyways, so in the beginning, it was very hard for us to know how green could we say that we were. So we started to say that we were kind of green or ish saving the world, something. And the cool thing was that the customers really supported us in that transformation from just saying that we were doing something good to that we were saving the world, because they everything they bought from us, they photo it and they picture it, they publish those pictures on Instagram and Facebook and where not, and they were like, I'm saving the world. So they were very much like they were doing this together with this company and they were bragging about it. So that was actually the best thing that could happen for us, and it gave us a lot of confidence and courage to say that, we are an impact company, we do this, we have a mission to change the world, and it has been a happy collaboration since then with our customers, I guess.
Very cool. So you kind of, at the very beginning, you found the early adopters, the ones who really care about the impact. And now I guess you've been part of growing this category to the point where I suppose it's a lot more broad. Could you talk a little bit about what does a user kind of customer behavior look like? Do you have a small group of power users that are just buying, almost shopping exclusively, at least dry goods from you guys? Or is it just a lot of people buying quite infrequently? What does that kind of look like? And is it different from like a traditional grocery store, if you will?
I mean, we have something completely different, right? Because what we offer on a Tuesday, we can't offer the same assortment on a Thursday, given that we sell the things that we find at that moment. And given that we have so good prices and limited volumes, we sell out very, very quickly. So that's the first thing, right? And to this, I also would say that we have a very wide range of customers. So on one end, we have the ones that buys from us simply because they want to save the world, and on the far end of that spectrum, we have the ones that buys from us simply because they want to save their wallet or they're on a budget, and smack in the middle, we have the family on a budget, I guess. Right, so that's very much how it is, and these customer group that we have have different kind of behaviors. And a lot of these customers go in more or less, weekly, daily, just to see what's on sale. Can I, does this fit my normal shopping routine or my normal basket and so on? Yes, now they have my cereals and they have my Coca-Cola. Okay, let's go for it. Now I'll finish my order and check out. So that's very much how it works, very opportunistic. Then you also have the even more loyal group that only buys, their pasta and rice and so on and so forth from us. They, how should I say? I mean, they come back every month and they do this kind of purchase, or even more frequently, actually. So I guess those are the kind of needs we of course serve. If I should add anything to that, they are the ones that maybe stock up even more. They buy a few times a year and they really stock up. So you also have them, I guess.
Yes, it's really across the board, and it makes sense because the business model is such a win-win. It's good for the wallet, it's good for the planet, and it's good for you. Just to make sure I understand, are you buying most of these products from producers or from the retailers? Where does it come from?
Sorry, I should have been more clear about that. So everything that we buy is from producers or manufacturers cross. So the biggest suppliers you can even imagine. I mean, Unilever, Nestle, Coca-Cola, all of these guys, right? And also, of course, a lot of the smaller ones we also buy from.
Right.
But, not from any stores.
Got it. Has any store, whether it's like ICA in Sweden or Kesko, the S Group here in Finland, has any store kind of ventured into this, kind of offered something similar to what you guys are doing in any of the markets that you're in?
I mean, they of course sell things that they have a problem with, and they have a lot of own assortment these days. So you can, I think especially the times we're in, you can see in the stores that they have a lot of more kind of special offerings and so on. So absolutely, but not in the focused, niched way that we do it. No, we haven't seen that.
I'm guessing that focus and that taking that really, really narrow approach helps when it comes to building the brand, top of mind awareness in the category. And let's talk a little bit about kind of the messaging and the creative that you have. You've had, sure. I don't know if you're running this right now, but at least in the past, you've had these TV commercials that are very, like they're almost jarring, like they're so striking. And so maybe I'll put some links to it in the show notes. But can you talk about what led you to kind of come up with that very, shall we say, provocative, creative strategy around the messaging?
It's a development, right? To go, we started somewhere not to talk. We didn't know how much we could talk about it, but until that we do this together with our customers. And I think that journey has always been. We love this. We love saving, selling food. We love it. We think it's just, the best thing in the world, right? And we let that show. So we invite the customers, in the beginning, we every time we got, a special kind of goods on for sale, we did our own kind of movie with the iPhone saying, what, right now we have crazy deals on this chocolate bar, yada yada yada, and we did something cool around that and just posted it. So we have always have this fun thing to it. We want it to be fun, and if we also in the beginning we spoke a lot about let's save the world and good prices, and that triangle has those base of that triangle has always been important, but then we wanted the fun part of that to be a triangle, and in the beginning we did a lot of these kind of marketing and brand building by ourselves. But then very early on, we decided that we wanted to go international. And then we needed to have like a bigger brand, a brand that said a bit more, that have more body to it, I guess, and more story to it. So we started to meet different kind of advertising agencies and so on, and we ended up working with TBWA, and they really supported us in building this international brand. And them have kind of found or navigated that journey together with us, and really came to the point where it should be fun. We shouldn't have any pointers, or we shouldn't be bashing anyone if they're not doing everything right. We should rather be invited everyone to join the fight against food waste, and being kind of rebellic about that. So that has very much been what we were trying to look for. Big problems, complex problems, and package them in something that is fun and invitive, I guess.
Yeah, I was looking through your ad library on Meta. You're running a ton of ads there, and a lot of very, very kind of some weird ones as well, but center around this idea that there's nothing more stupid than wasting good food. And I definitely could pick up on this, not taking yourselves too seriously and wanting to have fun with this, like you said, complex problem presented in a way that everyone can participate. So it seems like that strategy has really paid off for you guys and allowed you to speak to very, very broadly.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, it's very hard these days to do something good for the environment. It's both expensive and hard, and most of all, really boring. I mean, maybe the other fun companies maybe would be to drive and own a Tesla, but not everyone can do that, right? So that has been very much our starting point. That like it shouldn't be that hard, it shouldn't be that complicated, and it should be it shouldn't be boring. It should be fun doing shit like that. I mean, that's very much how we started to think about it. Yeah,
I think that really shines through in the messaging there. Is there anything in terms of channels or tactics or tools that has been particularly effective for you when it comes to just driving signups, getting new people to try the service? Or is it just a matter of getting the word out there, trying different media placements?
Yeah, we have tried everything, of course. We've tried Facebook, Instagram, Google, TV and radio and all of that, right? But the thing that was the absolute best channel for us in the beginning was, of course, Facebook, because it was so easy for us to invite others to join in. So that was, we really liked that format. In the first year, I think every Friday we had a really long blog post saying like, this has happened this week, we're so excited, yada yada yada, and and it got so many likes and everyone loved it and so on. So we went to this some specialists and agencies in Google advertising and Facebook and so on, and we asked them, what do you think? I mean, please advise us here. We don't know shit about this, and please help us. And they said, like, first of all, you really need to stop doing all of this writing and these long posts. That's just stupid. Please stop doing that, and then we will start thinking about what you could do instead. So we stopped doing that. And the funny thing was that the customers reached out and they say, hey, where are you guys? We want to hear more. What happened this week? And so on. So yeah, we haven't stopped. We have changed it, of course, a bit now, but we kept on kind of telling the story, and we know how our customers really like that. So we also have used that in other channels. So I mean, PR has been a very, very important part of our mix. Maybe not so every thought through, or we've been very adventurous into that channel, or way of communicating. So if we got any new suppliers on, we told a story about that. If we, did an error on the site, or if something went down, we told a story around that. What happened, and we got really lucky to get a lot of publications around that, that of course gave us confidence to continue doing that. So we have been using PR a lot, and also tried to be very honest about our journey.
I think that's so interesting because what you're saying is you just kept on communicating and sharing what was happening. And I think that is so underutilized by so many businesses, is that we get so accustomed to what we're doing that we think that everyone knows about it, or no one wants to hear about it. But if you're constantly just giving people, especially in the beginning, as you have these, this customer base of early adopters who are really actually interested in what you're doing because they're actively contributing to solving the problem together with you. And then it's just about figuring out like the different media and different channels and maybe the creative strategy around it. But the core idea of let's be really active in telling our story and what's happening, I think that's really really powerful.
Yeah. I very much believe in, to be a bit, as transparent as you can be, and maybe not too thought through every time, more kind of playing around with it and inviting others to be part of your company or your venture. I think that is something that is very powerful, and it's almost that they are also running the business in some way.
Yeah. Are you measuring, because a lot of this is about getting that top of mind awareness and also expanding the category. Are you measuring that kind of brand awareness, or are you mostly paying attention to the revenue, customer acquisition cost, things of that nature?
No, we're of course measuring, the brand awareness. I'm not on top of all numbers. I know that we have more than 70% of our brand awareness in Sweden, that I know. I think it's 30 or I shouldn't throw any more numbers in there, but I know that this is something that we're following every day, and it's very important. But there are others these days looking into those numbers. It's something I see month by month or more or less these days.
70% in your home market, that's very incredible. We talk about that's 7 million Swedes or something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's okay. And you're in 5 countries, I think. So the Nordics plus Germany, or Germany plus Austria, maybe.
Exactly. Germany, Austria, Sweden, Finland, Denmark. Exactly.
Got it. What was that like going? Which country was the first one after Sweden? Was that which did you go to Denmark?
No, we went Norway.
Okay. So tell me about that.
Yeah, no, exactly. We kind of said to ourselves, it's so much more expensive with food in Norway, right? So why not Norway? Let's start somewhere. And we always always knew that we were to expand and show that this is not something that is a Swedish thing. It's something more than that. And we wanted to try out a new market. So we did a very kind of bootstrapped expansion to Norway. That we opened it up like a border shopping thing. And then we got so much traction, so we needed to ship in all the way into Norway, and realized fairly quickly that this was really expensive, given that they have sugar tax and they have a lot of other penalty taxes if you're not kind of producing things in Norway. So we kind of stepped away from that very, very quickly. But then we stepped into Finland. And that was really interesting and has been a very good learning for us. And the important thing after that was we wanted to show that this was something. It's not a Nordic thing. This is something that is more than that. We believe that this is, of course, a European opportunity, and even more so a global opportunity. And by saying that, we needed to take actions, right? And the first thing was to say, okay, what countries should we then be in? We should probably be in the biggest food markets. And two of them we kind of zoomed in on was, of course, Germany and the UK. And every investor we spoke to and took advice from, that because we of course needed some capital to move into these markets, said that whatever you do, don't go into Germany, because that's they will hammer you, they will not leave and let you out alive. And but why don't you have your eyes more towards I don't know, I mean, Holland, the Netherlands, somewhere around there. I mean, those guys, they look like you, they think like you, they talk almost like you. Look towards them. And, that made us think like, okay, so that would then mean if we succeed there, they will still say that we haven't really succeeded in any major market. So we said to ourselves, I mean, the biggest and most fierce market in Europe would be Germany. So, let's just go in there. So we put all our bets on one card, and we stumbled our way in there and found really, really strong team and great investors. And it was a success. It took some weeks to figure out the market or crack the market, of course, or crack the market. Please withdraw that, but start to understand that what we were doing at least, and then after doing that and getting the first suppliers on, and getting the first orders out and getting Google to work, we had a liftoff, and that was really, really strong. And now the German market will soon kind of sail. Be bigger than the Swedish market. So we're really, really happy about that launch.
That's incredible. Very kind of courageous, like you said, putting everything on that one bet. But I'm guessing you kind of thinking was, if we're able to validate that this works in Germany, then the value of the company increases substantially, because right now it creates a lot bigger opportunity. Germany is very different from Sweden in terms of, for instance, just e-commerce, online shopping behavior and things of that nature. So was there anything you had to adapt when you went to Germany, or did you kind of take the Swedish playbook and translate it just into German and click play?
No, but you're onto something here. I mean, it's of course, millions adjustments, right? Millions, small and tiny bits, and just how you communicate and so there have been so many small adjustments, but if you look at it as in a broader perspective and really zoom out, we have the same business in Germany as we have in Sweden. We buy the same things, the offerings are kind of the same, the communication are a bit tweaked, but we're almost kind of saying the exact same, using the more or less the same ads. So I think it's a clear proof that this model works in multiple markets, and it's saving the world, saving food, and doing something good is something universal.
Yeah, totally. Just out of got me thinking. Was there 2 years ago when there was this big hype of these hyper fast grocery startups that came up? The biggest one I think in Europe was in Germany, Gorillas. They raised like over €1 billion in a year or something like that. Insane. That model has not, as far as I can tell, worked out that well. I think a lot of these companies had to shut down. Do you think that, obviously their play was pure convenience and quick. Do you think that is the direction in which the food shopping is going to go, or is it going to be more on value, or is there going to be room on this huge market for kind of both opportunities? Because obviously you guys are focused more on the value piece, and in addition to the impact piece of it, or are you also then looking to add kind of convenience and speed to the equation? It's kind of a broad question, but where do you think the whole food grocery market is gonna evolve?
Yeah, you know what? It's really hard, right, to know. I don't think there is a simple answer to that question. But what really was astonishing to witness was the herd behavior during the pandemic, because all of a sudden everything changed, and the quick commerce was the new thing, the new orange or whatever you say, and all of a sudden everyone needed to have milk, by their door within 10 minutes. That was all of a sudden, that everyone believed in, and everyone also thought that this would not go away. So that combination, of course, made them a triple unicorn overnight. So that was, of course, really exciting to see. But now, I mean, we are in a new situation again, where maybe you and I, we're not looking for that kind of service anymore, or not at least in that extent. It could be nice, right? I'm doing pancakes here and I'm out of milk. I mean, please help me out. And there's a gorilla, right? So that's amazing. But I think I read somewhere that long live the niche, right? So I think the niches that will be the winners. I think it would be very hard for finding this broad concept that kind of takes over the world. Everyone wants one type of service. And I think, the freedom of choice that is so strong, right? We have internet, we can choose whatever we like. We could have you can have one white sneaker and one white, and that's a perfect match for you. And yeah, so I think no one really have cracked the food question as a whole, and to do everyday grocery shopping, it's not everyone can plan it or are made that way, that they like to plan their grocery shopping. Like, I don't know, I shop a lot with my emotions. Today I feel like having, I don't know, chicken spaghetti or something. And then that inspiration comes to me going into the store maybe. And that is really hard to create something like that online. But on the other hand, you could, of course, that in the future you will do I don't know, spaghetti dinners for a long time ahead, right? So you could bunker up on that. So maybe there are these niches that could work, but I now understand that this was a terrible way of responding to your smart and bright question.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm trying to find my way through this because it's really tricky, right? It's not one simple answer to it.
No, and the thing is, the global grocery market is so humongous that even if you're able to, any niche inside that market is going to be very, very, very attractive to kind of as a growth opportunity. You mentioned also, you set your sights in Germany. That's been really successful. You also went to the UK, and I think it was last year you decided to pull back because the changing market conditions meant that it's not really going to be possible to finance this long-term bet, even if you have conviction in the market and in your product, but just knowing that this is going to take too long, we won't be able to make it work. So I think it's safe to say you guys kind of made a pretty hard left turn to focus on profitability. Can you talk about what that meant for the company? Were you previously in this kind of like growth stage, and everyone from every team member was kind of focused on just the growth KPIs, and then you had to make this hard kind of pivot? Or what did that transition look like? Was it as dramatic as that?
Yeah, we needed to step out of the market, and that affected a lot of people. So that was, of course, dramatic, and I'm really sad that we needed to do that. But I'm also very happy that we now have a sane way forward, where we are building a profitable model, and we have really, as you said, pivoted a bit, right? We are now only zooming in to turn profitable, and that's the main objective now. And it did change the way we internally look at our journey ahead. But again, we have also we have really ambitious goals. So it didn't take away that we are still a very much of a growth company. So, all of that kind of culture stayed within the walls. But maybe we adjusted a bit to the environment around us. Because what is cool about our company, I mean, regardless for what weather it's outside and what climate, financial climate or normal weather, I guess, we have continuously grown, and we have been growing in the same kind of rapid pace. So that is something that is very important to say. And we have been simultaneously, as we've been growing, also been focusing on profitability. So I mean, we already last year turned profitable for the Swedish market, and we will already this year be profitable for the full of the Nordics, and next year for Germany, and more or less as a whole group. So it's amazing actually to see this happening in front of our eyes. We have now found a way of really dealing with the some way of dealing with these low margin goods in automating our warehouse. So we're really, really, really happy about finding that cool way. And we now have a lot of support from robots picking and packing our boxes. And that's something that is really cool and a big investment. But I would say it was very tough for us to both kind of doing that and also asking for money for even more growth. So we focused on the market that we're on and zoomed in on that.
That makes a lot of sense. And turning profitable, as I believe I read that kind of the first European grocery online kind of grocery e-commerce business that it will be able to do that. So that's pretty incredible. It really shows that the model is working. Also, it will, if not eliminate, at least reduce your dependence on going to investors for more capital. So yeah. I'd love to talk a little bit about fundraising, because you've done, like I said, a lot of it. Something like 200 million euros in total, about there.
Yeah.
I think you said there was an article interview with you where you talked about some of the pressure, the stress that adds, kind of like having to chase investor money, keeping the valuations going up, which of course brings along with it added expectations of future growth. Would you how do you think about that whole piece? Because obviously it comes at a cost, right? At the same time, to build this business, you needed to get to a certain scale, which requires capital. So is there anything you'd change about how you've gone about it if you were to do it over, or kind of was this the right way to go, all things considered?
Yeah. First of all, I mean, looking for capital, meeting really intelligent and smart people, and telling them about your company and getting them excited about your company, the vision you're building, the ideas you have to create this amazing company and so on, and getting their acceptance is probably the wrong word, but more, they agree that this sounds reasonable, right? And from that point, and getting them in the boat and following your journey ahead, that is a really, really interesting and valuable. It's a great journey anyway. I mean, we have learned so much. I don't know how many capital rounds raised we have done. I would count it as maybe 6 or 7 or something like that. And every time you come back after one of those kind of ventures, you need to change as a company. So I put a lot of pressure on you, right? To, now we not only promised a lot of things to happen, but we also learned a lot of things and said that, these are good ideas. Let's try to implement them as soon as possible. And also, I mean, the capital that is getting deployed here needs to, do something positive with the valuation of the company, right? In a very, very short period of time. So you need to make all of these changes to happen very, very fast. So but all of that is super, super, super exciting. The downside of all of this is, of course, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time from you away from, building the company. So that is one thing. And it takes a lot of time also, thinking about this. I mean, will we get funded this time? Will I be able to pay salaries next month? I mean, at some point you're down to that, how many months do we have left on our bank account? Waking up every morning and looking at the bank account. So did we get this right? I mean, okay. Now we know roughly around how long we should live. I mean, all of that puts a lot of pressure to on you and so on, and on the team. You need to stay resilient to all of those feelings, and you need to mentally be very, very strong to and guide your team that say, we will make this happen. So of course there's a lot of pressure, right? And you as an entrepreneur, if you fail this, or at least that how I thought about it is like, shit, I can't fail this, because if I fail this, everything I build up will go down the drain, and also the things I promise people around me and so on will also be lost. Yeah, so I guess those are the emotional things that you were kind of asking about here.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it's really important to know yourself. Like, either you're a person who can deal with those expectations and that pressure and that responsibility, or you're someone who would prefer maybe to take it a little bit slower, think a little bit smaller, but be able to do it at a different pace and maybe perhaps on your own terms, as opposed to this, because investors, they want to see growth quarter over quarter, whatever the period is. Like, they don't really care about if there is something going on. They want to see the numbers go up. So I guess it's about knowing yourself and what's right for you and your business.
I don't know. I think endurance is the right word. I mean, you really need to hang in there and not give up. And for us to this point has been 10 years of that. I think that this last round took us to full profitability and fully funded. So we're super happy about that we don't need more capital just to keep on running. If we ever take on more capital, it would probably be to, expand somewhere else or do something other exciting things. But we should now be a self-funded company from now on onwards. And it's a great feeling.
Yeah, after 10 years, 6-7 rounds, to be able to get to that point, I think that must feel really incredible. So kind of the strategy going forward is focusing on these markets that you're in right now, getting to profitability, and then, maybe looking at what's out there in terms of new markets or maybe other kinds of opportunities. Is that kind of how you think about it?
I mean, we're still very much still on that growth journey, as I mentioned, and we're very much keen to show that this is still very much of a global opportunity. So I would say that we haven't even started yet. I think that is a sentence I would like to, that is the sentence that I keep in my head, at least.
That's really good. You stepped away from the role as CEO, I believe it was last year. So now you're involved, but not in a operational kind of day-to-day capacity. So just on a personal level, what are you currently, is Matsmart still the sole focus of what you're doing, or are you also exploring other ventures or other ways to other types of work?
Yeah, but exactly. I stepped down as CEO after 10 years, and it was it was a really weird feeling, I'll tell you. I mean, the first couple of weeks was really, really weird. I think a job as a startup CEO is like you work 24/7, and doing that for 10 years, it does things to you, right? And all of a sudden that goes away a bit, and that was weird. But now I very much enjoy it. I'm still in the company. I do a lot of the. I've been trying out new things. I mean, along the way has been a lot of these tingling, tangling, exciting things around the company that we haven't been able to kind of look into or zoom into and try out. So those are business development things I'm doing right now. So I find that really, really fun to do. So that is what I'm doing. I'm also supporting a few companies right now, and I hope to do even more of that in the future, and still being able to continue supporting Potatoes Matsmart as we move forward and grow. So I'm on the board of Smart Potatoes and a few other smaller companies.
It would be really rewarding to be able to step away from kind of like the day-to-day of a company that you for 10 years kind of led to this critical point in the company's trajectory, and then kind of watch, not from the side, I mean, still working, but kind of more from the sidelines watching it. I mean, the next 10 years could see it go from, 100 million to, I don't know, huge.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, it's huge now, but even much more so.
So I'm excited to see how big we now can grow this. I think there is so much more potential yet to, for us to grab. But absolutely,
it's going to be really exciting to see what you guys get up to. Karl, thank you so much for coming on and sharing about the journey. And for people who want to follow you, are you on LinkedIn? Anywhere else that you're active?
Yeah, no, LinkedIn is probably a good way to look into that. There's where, so absolutely hook me up, reach out, say hi if you have any cool ideas. I mean, let me know.
Perfect. I'll put the link in the show notes. And thank you so much. Good luck with everything you got planned for 2024, and I hope wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been really interesting, and I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening. You can find all episodes of The Growth Pod on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.